Paris, Illinois, 1986. This was the scene where Dyke and Karen Rhodes were found murdered. Randy Steidl was convicted of murdering them both. His friend, Herb Whitlock, guilty of murdering Karen. Randy received the death penalty. The problem? They were innocent. You spent more than 17 years in prison, 12 of those on death row. What was that like?
Well, it's a living hell, not only on myself, but my family, my children, my mother.
Randy Steidl's story could be described as a nightmare. It's a story he tells to this day, like to this group of lawyers at Springfield's Sangamo Club. After being sent to prison in 1987 for double murder, Steidl's life was turned upside down, sitting in what he called a dungeon and having to live with real murderers.
That was my greatest fear, of actually having to take a life to defend myself.
So while he sat in a cell, he clung to strings of hope, his family, and people like Bill Clutter, an investigator, and Lieutenant Michael Callahan with the Illinois State Police, among others. They were on Randy's side. They knew the evidence pointed elsewhere, from a bad defense attorney and a botched investigation by the Illinois State Police, to witnesses who lied and prosecutors who some say were corrupt. Add to that DNA evidence showing no link to Randy and the crime. It all came to a point on May 28, 2004, when he got his first taste of freedom in 17 years.
It's being reborn, because, and you don't really believe that you're going to be free until they open that door, and you take that first few steps, and the air was so much sweeter on that side of the fence.
It's really hard to put into words what that feeling's like, to see your client walk out of prison, embrace his mother for the first time, unshackled.
How difficult was it for you to transition back into society once you were freed?
When I got out, I didn't know what an ATM machine was, didn't know how to pump gas with these newfangled gas pumps, didn't know how to use a cell phone, a laptop. And if it hadn't been for, luckily I went out of state and got good gainful employment.
Randy also received counseling, but admits it was very tough. Now he lives in Charleston and is retired, but issues remain. For one, the justice system. Stuart Schiffman is a former prosecutor and judge.
What do you do if you have scientific evidence that establishes innocence, but you do not have a legal process and a legal procedure to get to that correct conclusion?
Despite being wrongfully convicted and free since 2004, Randy Steidl has not received a dime from the state of Illinois. He has asked several governors, including Governor Pat Quinn, for a pardon, but so far no luck. Under Illinois law, only exonerees who have been granted a pardon by the governor or certificate of innocence can receive compensation. Randy would then be owed nearly $200,000. The Illinois State Police agreed to pay Randy $2.5 million to settle a lawsuit because of their flawed evidence. He has yet to receive that money. A spokesperson for the governor's office tells us Quinn continues to review clemency petitions. Randy simply wants to clear his name for his family's sake. If you had to tell Governor Pat Quinn a message right now, what would you tell him?
Find it in your heart, as you continually to actual pardon guilty people who committed crimes. What about us who are actually innocent and seeking this redress on our wrongful conviction?
Despite his nightmare, Randy Steidl is moving on, but those 17 years in prison are a reminder to him how badly the justice system failed. In Springfield, Andrew Hansen, ABC News Channel 20.